Here's the uncomfortable truth no one is telling parents. Most parenting advice fails because it starts after the nervous system is already shut down or on fire. You're told to connect more, discipline better, stay calm, but no one explains why your child literally can't respond in those moments until now. The real problem and why this feels never ending is parents are stuck in a behavioral whack a mole. Some same meltdowns, arguments, power struggles, new strategies that you try but give you the same outcome. Like most parents, you're thinking, what am I missing? What's actually happening is you're trying to change behavior while the nervous system is still stuck in survival mode. That's like trying to teach somebody to swim while they're drowning. And I think we've all been there with our kids where we're trying to teach them something, but they're just so dysregulated that they can't hear us. And what if the problem really isn't your parenting style, but the actual order you've been taught to parent in? Because that's what I've seen. And this is why regulation first is so different. Most approaches say behavior first, rewards. You got to connect first. You got to talk first. You got to validate feelings. Oh no, you need skills like coping tools. Or guess what? You've got to do charts. We're like inundated by all of these parenting coaches and influencers who are using ChatGPT to tell you this. But you know me, Dr. Rowe, I've been working with thousands of people over 3 decades, and we have to do something different because I know, we're all living it. We are in a crisis and we don't have to be. We're making parenting way too hard, right? So, regulation first is different because it's telling us, and we know this from science, nothing works until the nervous system is stable enough to receive it. This isn't a mindset shift about parenting, like, oh, I need a different parenting approach. This is using biology, the science, to tell us what exactly is the sequence how we should be parenting our kids. And so, what does regulation first actually change in the brain? Yes, because when we are parenting by keeping that nervous system in mind, we can actually change our kids' brain. We can change our own brains because when you regulate first, the amygdala, right? That's at our emotional center, it stops running the show. It stops hijacking everything. Your stress hormones begin to drop, and it's yours and theirs. Their prefrontal cortex, I can't talk enough about that because as soon as you go into the red, your prefrontal cortex goes offline. That's why your kid like doesn't hear you. And when we start to regulate, it comes back online. You have a reasonable kid. Maybe you're more reasonable. The brain regains flexibility, not just calm, because we need those executive functioning skills. We need that neuroplasticity. That's the difference that most parenting advice misses because calm alone isn't the goal. Flexibility is. We need a calm, regulated, and flexible brain because a flexible brain can do a lot of things. It can pause. Why is the pause important? So you don't run hot. So you can think about things. You can shift. You can problem solve. You can recover next time faster because we're never saying kids should never dysregulate. We're saying kids dysregulate some of the times they learn from it. But you're not going to learn from it if you're constantly dysregulated, you or your kids. How does behavior changes? How does it actually change when you're regulated, not in the middle of a hot mess? Because we're all walking around. I mean, I think the more I talk to people, it's like this dysregulation hum. I know you're hearing the word dysregulation all the time. You're hearing nervous system all the time because the science is catching up. We're starting to make sense out of this. A dysregulated brain is going to repeat patterns, healthy or unhealthy, A regulated brain is calm enough to learn from that experience. It's about creating that capacity. I always talk about those cups. And if your cup is always full, you don't have capacity for everyday things. And for our kids, every time you go and learn, you're stretching yourself. Think about the last time you went to go learn something. When I wrote my book, we're going to talk about it. I'm in this amazing group of authors with my incredible editor, AJ Harper. Adore her. She's amazing. She told me when I don't want to get verklempt, but she really is a big deal. And when she read this book, she told me that it completely changed everything she thought about parenting. And just, I want you to rethink parenting, and that's what this is about. But when the brain is regulated, it can learn, as I said, it can tolerate stress, big stressors and little stressors, because it's got that capacity. The learning, right, is so important. And this is why, right? So we start to see less meltdown, they get shorter, reactions soften, kids bounce back instead of constantly spiraling, as well as you getting into a co-dysregulation cycle. That starts to calm down. And parents stop escalating, of course, unintentionally. Who hasn't ever had just this reactivity back and forth with your kid? Of course. But when it's your go to, you got yourself a friggin' problem, people. And neither one of you wants it. And you don't have to be there. And it doesn't have to be that hard. And that's really important because we're making, again, parenting way too hard. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I wrote this book. You're not just managing behavior when you're doing regulation first, you're rewiring responses. You're changing the biology of the nervous system. All of this back and forth reminding, not to say our kids don't need scaffolding, they do, right? It's important to understand that. So let's talk about the parent nervous system. And I don't think I even talk enough about it. And I really want to talk about it. Here's what makes regulation first radically different than other parenting approaches. And we're not just talking about co regulation, but I want you to really understand that's an important part. But regulation starts with you, not as a strategy, but as biology, because kids are borrowing your regulation. You truly are their emotional anchor. And through your nervous system, stress is going to transfer faster than words. And we know this. It's like when you go someplace, and I recently had a client tell me, just telling me how lovely it was to work with us one-on-one. And they have a kid who's physically disabled. They have a PANS kid. Mom's got stuff. I mean, they're just the nicest darn people. And she was telling me how rude this doctor's office was and how we are the opposite of that, which you all know I'm retiring. So, that these are the final days because this mission is so important. And I need for parents to stop choking on overwhelm. We need a lifeline. And that's what this book is. But those words make such a difference to people. And the person, if they had just said, hey, listen, we are so busy today. I don't want you to think you're not important because you are. I just am not going to have time for you. Can you imagine how different that was? Instead, she was just transferring this stress and this hurriedness. She didn't say anything rude to her. She just was impatient. It was coming across much more than the words. That stress was transferring to somebody who's actually works very hard to be regulated and is very aware. But we have to do more than what we're doing in a different way. Co-dysregulation creates double meltdowns, regulation breaks, and that emotional contagion loop where you're just transferring that anxiety and irritation. And when parents regulate first, their tone changes, their body softens, their reactions slow, and their child's nervous system follows because you both have more capacity to do everyday things, hard things, because life is hard. And this is happening not because you're calm, because their body feels safer from the cues that you're showing. Because as Tony would say, it's easy with the mouth. That means, I talk about this in my book, that we can say things, but are we doing it? And so we have to show our kids this. And don't worry, I show you how to do it. So after working with thousands of families, this pattern is just super clear. It's really unmistakable that when kids and parents don't know how to regulate their nervous system first, what am I going to see? I'm actually going to see an increase in mental health struggles. They don't just show up, they actually snowball. It's like a guarantee if you don't have that capacity, that stress tolerance to deal with everyday things, you're going to have at a minimum clinical anxiety and maybe even other issues. We make it like anxiety is no big deal, but it is a big deal. It holds you back. It holds your intelligence back. It holds you back from taking risks, from connecting with others. It can make you irritable. It can make you depressed. We don't have to participate that. And our nervous system and regulating it is truly the key. And I really mean that. We don't want to have shutdowns and explosions and focus issues, but that's what happens. They turn into school problems and families start living in survival mode. And parents will tell me I've tried everything, therapy, charts, consequences, medications, but more patience, less patience. But here's one thing that you need to understand. A dysregulated brain can't cope. It can't learn. It can't quote unquote behave no matter how hard the child tries. And what I see over and over is this: when families learn to regulate first before correcting, before teaching, before reacting, the nervous system settles. And when the nervous system settles, those symptoms ease, not because behavior was forced, but because the brain is finally regulated enough to function. You're not stuck in the over under stimulation. And this is where real mental health and mental wellness begins, not in controlling behavior, but calming the nervous system that drives it. And this isn't permissive or passive. Regulation first doesn't remove boundaries. It doesn't ignore behavior. It doesn't excuse actions. It creates the conditions where boundaries can finally be felt instead of fought. And discipline without regulation equals a threat. Discipline after regulation is guidance. You've got to think of it this way: your child doesn't need more motivation, consequences, or charts. They need a nervous system that has the capacity to grow. And once that happens, skills stick, learning accelerates, emotional maturity actually emerges, not overnight, please, but with each moment of calm that adds up like bank deposits. Can you hear a ching on that? And that's actually why I wrote, I'm going to show you if you've caught on, it's behind me. That's why I wrote The Dysregulated Kid. I'm so ridiculously excited about this book. I've been working on this actually since June of 2024. And I know you don't need more tools because you're joking on tools. You have a lot of them. You probably have a lot of courses and you probably have a lot of things. But I wrote this so that you can focus on doing things in the right order. For all those thousands of people that came to work with me on one-on-one, a lot of what I did certainly taught them regulation first, but it was doing things in the right order. And regulation first isn't just a trend, and it's actually a form of parenting that I trademarked because I want people to understand it is the missing foundational piece that makes everything else finally work. It's like when you make that beautiful sauce and you're like, I went to Roseann's house. True story, happens all the time. Why did her sauce taste so much better? Right? And I'll give him those ingredients. It's that order. It's how you do it. Maybe it's the way I'm bringing the temperature up. And so think of nervous system as like the best pasta sauce you ever had. And regulating your nervous system is really what makes everything work much, much better. And it's so logical. It's right there. It's like I feel like it's like we're looking for the glasses that are on our head. And this is what regulation first does. It's common sense. It's not working harder. It is truly working smarter. And, when you change that nervous system, you're changing the behavior. And when you change the order, you're changing the outcome. So I hope this is like a mind blowing aha moment that you're realizing only when the nervous system is regulated that you can change behavior. And that's the heart of the dysregulated kid. It's really about simple things that you can do, micro steps that you can implement into your everyday life. We're really never going to achieve this. We're going to think it's this big mountain that we're never going to achieve. And so, what I've done in this, again, is create simple, doable steps that you can do in less than 10 minutes a day, because otherwise, we're never going to be able to do it. And when you pre order your copy, then you can learn how regulation first creates lasting calm, connection, and mental health. Because what's more important than our mental health? And it's not just for today, but for your adult child, whether your kid is 1 years old. I want this to go home with every new parent. I, why we have to make things so hard. And we're thinking if your kid is 5, you're thinking about the future. I know you are, because I'm mom of neurodivergent kids, so we worry. But this is how you create these great, happy adults. And here's the magic part about this: you get to change all the generations that come after that. We don't want to think we're going to be a grandparent. We are, very likely. And it's all of these steps that add up. And that's what is all this book is about, and making it a lot easier for parents. I know you're filled with parenting advice, and I know you're filled with worry, and I know you're thinking, I've done a lot of things. But the dysregulated kid is your path to making it a lot easier. If you want to order the dysregulated kid, the link is in the notes. And when you do, there's some incredible exclusive pre-order bonuses that come only if you buy it before launch date. And I'm so excited for this, and I know you are too. And thank you for all the people all over the world, because we hit 2 million downloads. And I know we have people from every corner of the globe, from my Spanish speaking families to the people in the UK and Europe and all over the United States. Let's make regulation first the standard in parenting.
Want more insights and solutions? Well, subscribe to our Dysregulation Insider, and it will show up in your inbox every week.